My name's Jazmyn Harrison. I am from Trinidad, Colorado, born and raised. I had a hard time coping with what was going on in the household. There was drugs and alcohol and, abuse in my household. As I was trying to fit in high school, I put a lot of pressure on myself, trying to be perfect, trying to make it to where I would earn love. And when I was 17 years old, I was doing volleyball, and I had 2 jobs, and, I was dating a boy at the time, and I just broke. I had brokenness in the household, and so I ended up hanging myself. I put a lot of pressure on myself to be somebody perfect, somebody that I wasn't, just trying to keep up an image. And so it was just too much pressure, and I couldn't do it anymore, because on the outside, I was working so hard to keep these things up. And on the inside, I just kept getting more and more broken. I think that was the first time I really talked to God or something that was a higher power than myself. And I said, I'm gonna set all this up. I'm gonna have the rope, the chair, and everything. I'm gonna make a phone call to my friend who lives a couple blocks away, and I'm gonna tell her what I'm gonna do. And if she gets here in time to cut me down, then I'm meant to be here. But if she doesn't make it, then this was meant to be. My friend ended up making it there in time, and she cut me down off the tree. After the attempt, it got a little worse. I got sent to a place where they put you in one of those suicide vests, and you're just naked and alone. And that was just as traumatizing. But of course, when I get back to school and everybody hears, what happened, all the popular kids that I played volleyball with and things like that kind of just labeled me as a freak, didn't know how to talk to me anymore, and those things kind of changed. I ended up having to cope with smoking marijuana after that. I didn't do any drugs before that, but ended up stumbling into smoking weed. So after high school, I graduated and I ended up getting a volleyball scholarship, but I didn't take it. But I did go to college and did get 4 degrees, all while, doing drugs and spiraling into harder drugs. I know some of my graduation pictures in college, I was high on heroin at the time, but I was determined to continue this lifestyle of perfection and just overachieving. I got into a crowd where they knew I only smoked weed, and they kind of convinced me, hey, we got this new stuff. It's called cheese. It's pot, but we smoke it in a different way on a foil. And so just being naive, I thought, okay, it's cheaper, and it's fine. And so I started smoking it, and the people I was around, I was very isolated. They all knew not to come out and tell me we were smoking heroin. Let's see, about 4 months into, smoking this stuff, I started to realize that I was starting to sell my things, which I had never done, that this stuff kind of was a little more addictive, and I needed it a little more than marijuana. I just remember closing my eyes and on the inside saying, God, something's up with this. Something is wrong. Just let me know. Tell me. Something's up. Something is wrong. Something's different. And the very next day, one of the people that was told not to tell me that we were smoking heroin, I remember I just made a comment. We were alone, and I said, is this stuff making your hair fall out? And she just broke down and said, hey, we've been smoking heroin, and we were told not to tell you that this is what it is. The day that I found out it was heroin, I was able to quit, but I thought I had done it on my own. I was like, wow, I quit heroin, and this person did this and that. And because the reason that I was, smoking weed, and it was my coping mechanism, the issue wasn't resolved. I, of course, ended up going back, thinking I've already tried heroin and I didn't die, and I wasn't, like those people on the streets, so I ended up getting into pills, cocaine, those types of things, all while earning my healthcare professional degree, which throughout all of that, I have no idea how I graduated with honors while doing very hard drugs. Only God, His grace, allowing that to happen. And so I ended up getting on methamphetamine. And during that time, I would say that that's a drug that really perpetuates, would say, just sexual drive. So I ended up, getting addicted to pornography, being a lot more promiscuous. And at that time, I'm getting worse and worse as I'm opening these darker doors in this, dark cave that I'm in. And I'm finding myself, of course, doing things that you don't set out to do morally, because of the control of the drug and the need and the dependency on it. I end up, having 4 abortions at the time. I start impulsively gambling and getting into illegal gambling schemes. I am in prostitution rings, not participating, but I'm finding myself in houses where some extreme illegal activities going on, sex trafficking, things like that. I'm finding myself dating men who, aren't afraid to put a gun to my head or put knives to my throat and sexually assault me. And I had a taser on me, and I remember just being on the floor and the taser just dropping feet in front of me and me not being able to get it, and just getting completely beaten, and just having a knife to my neck, and then just being sexually assaulted after that while just crying out. I am thinking that the government is chasing me. I'm thinking there's an implant in my head because I'm hearing voices at the time. And I know, I'm involved with people who are practicing a lot darker things. And I'm unaware of all of these practices, let alone any of the spiritual world dealing with the Lord. And so it's so bad that I am in my room talking to inanimate objects, just thinking there's a camera and everything, searching, ripping things up, looking under floorboards in my apartment because I can hear these voices so vividly. And I end up going back home. Because I had been isolated from people who loved me, I wasn't hearing what I needed to hear. I wasn't getting convicted. I was able to do drugs and do things on my own to where I could be in my room doing these things alone, and I don't feel bad about them. So I end up moving back home, and now somebody cares. My mother cares about me, and I'm getting convicted as I'm doing these drugs, feeling terrible that I am in her house doing drugs, asking, she's asked me not to do this. She's been reaching out, trying to get me to go to rehab. I realize I am sitting here listening to these voices, and the messages are so sinister that I just get this idea, I need to listen to something that has good messages. And I'm pretty sure I've heard the Bible says good things. And so I thought, if I download this app and I just let the Bible play, maybe I'll have some comfort. And sure enough, I'm walking around for maybe a couple months with this Bible app playing. Like, I'm getting up, going to the kitchen. Yeah, I'm still high, but I'm not letting this thing out of my sight. I'm sleeping with it on. I have no idea what it's saying. But as I'm, wrestling with going to rehab, all of a sudden I wake up one day and I am full of joy. I have no cravings. Mind you, I've been doing hardcore drugs for 10 years. And I'm just wondering what this is. I'm thinking, wow, I know what it's like to be happy. Like, I know what it's like to get a new car, to have a bunch of money. I'm like, this isn't adding up. Nothing is perpetuating this feeling I'm getting. I've never felt it. And sure enough, I hear somebody one day talking about the Lord, and I'm like, you know what, that's it, I've had it. I'm gonna go ask this guy some questions. And I go up to him and I'm like, hey, why do I have to confess my sins to a priest? And sure enough, he shares the gospel with me for the first time, to where I knew it wasn't him. The room melted away. Nobody was in there, even though it was a room full of people working out. I didn't know what he was saying, but I couldn't stop listening. My mouth was open, and I just couldn't believe that I could talk to God, that Jesus was the bridge. I just couldn't believe it. And after that, this couple ends up buying me a Bible. and it's a study Bible, you know, it goes A, B, C, D, E, F, G for, you know, how you're feeling, if you need any help. And so I'm at the desk and I have the Bible, and I open it to the first page, and I'm like, all right. And it opens to the A's, and the first thing it says is abortion. And I slam the book and I just slide it to the side and I fold my arms and I said, yeah, there's no way I'm gonna read this. I already know I'm a piece of crap. Why would I sit there and listen to the depth of the crap that I've done? I already feel horrible. I have this burden of having these abortions, which was the thing that just destroyed me the most, was having those just on my conscience. And I remember hearing a small, still voice saying, what if it doesn't say what you think it says? And so I just thought, I have to know. I can't go the rest of my life knowing that this may have said something different. And so I clenched my stomach. I braced for impact, thinking, okay, even if it says something bad, I'm just gonna ignore it. So I opened it, and sure enough, it says, you didn't know me then. And I just thought, what? I didn't know you then. And it just talked about how I was sinning in a way when I didn't have any accountability, anybody that I was hurting, or anybody to, you know, answer to at the time, and how I had been forgiven. Since then, I've had people from my past come to the church to get baptized. They are completely free of all substances after, you know, being in the depths with me. You know, I've seen people get healed. I've seen, you know, demons casted out in my job in the basement. I've seen just people completely come together praying all over in the middle of the gym, in the middle of the sidewalk. Just people completely demon possessed coming to my job and now having just children and a house because of God. My name is Jazmyn, and I am a table in the wilderness.